Share my screen. And boom, here we go. So first person we're going to look at is the Argentinian libero. Danini. So Danini is a great player. He's currently in Italy right now. And so we're going to watch how he moves quickly and what we can learn. So the first thing I think any player, regardless of age, can work on is what we call split step. So you can see number 16, the libero, and he's going to approach into the split step. So watch this. Stepping in, left, right, and there's a split step. You see how his legs go out? And with this, he's able to engage his legs in not only the most athletic position possible, but also a very balanced position. So he can move left, he can move right, in front, behind, and he can do this balanced and athletic. So watch when he hits, boom. So as he hits, you can see his right leg strikes down because he sees the ball in the path on the left side of his body. Quick shuffle, gets there, takes another step, and is able to pass almost the whole court. Look at that. And so we'll talk a lot about how to move, how to prepare, but the big thing that you'll recognize when the passers pass it well is they're able to catch the ball in front of their body. Look at that space. So there'll be a couple times too where you'll see balls that aren't passed well, and then we can dissect also too what's kind of going wrong, where they did not track it well, and why it ended up as a bad pass. Because when we pass, a lot of times the ball, or all the times, the ball is going to do what our angle tells it to do, right? So let's see what went wrong here. So the ball gets behind him, and you can see he's trying to keep an angle towards the setter, but the further the ball gets behind him, the more his hips open up. And now, rather than the play before, okay, get back to the play before. There we go. So the play before, you can see his hips are facing the setter, the angle to the setter, and everything goes back to the setter. And so for this one, a little different. It's a great float serve, catches him high, and he doesn't have enough time to connect the ball in front of him. So what happens is hips open up, facing the sideline, and because of that, he loses the angle, and the ball just goes straight up. So late to track, late to connect his arms with the balls in front of him, and because of this, his hips have to open, and the ball goes straight up. See what he does this time. So tough one. We can always pass balls outside of our bodies, right? I got into a really bad habit playing in college where I pass balls here, 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 here. And still sometimes I do this. But the thing is, the percentages really aren't in our favor. We could pass the ball this away from our body, but what's the percentage of us passing it perfect? Maybe 20, 30, at most 40%. Because the thing is, when we're fully outstretched and the ball makes another movement, the ball hits the tape, it's much harder for us to adjust the ball and to keep our initial angle, which the ball will listen to and go to the target. So you can see he's outstretched, he's not balanced. And the ball takes a little more float at the end. And you can see, once again, he loses his hips. And where his hips face, that's where the ball goes. One more time. So tough float, doesn't get a good read on it. Fully outstretched, loses his hips. Now the ball goes where his hips face. Much better job, gets a good read on it. Here's a split step. Gets a nice step, keeps his hips towards the server and towards the target. Sometimes we can't do this, but if we can get both the hips towards the server and the target, we're going to find a lot of success. Does a good job getting his arms outside of his body. Ball goes right to the target. Great set, side out. So I like this receiver a lot because what he does is he starts with his arms really wide. And if you're a passer or you're a volleyball player in general, when you first taught how to play volleyball, what happens? Coach tosses it right to your midline. You put your arms together, and then you pass the ball. What happens in the game? Well, not exactly this. And so these habits are formed, from learning how to play volleyball, and they stick with us. Even at the highest level, you'll see a lot of players, when the serve comes, they put their arms together, and then they move outside. All right? There's two ways where this gets us into trouble. One, when we put our arms together, we're going to move much slower with two arms than with our arms being individually. Second, if you want to try this at home right now, put your arms together and move to the left. Now look at your hips and where they are. When we move our arms together, outside of our body, our hips are going to turn. And like we've shown on a couple passes, when we lose our hips from going in front of us, now we lose our angle to the target. So by keeping our arms so wide, there's a lot of different styles to play. If you guys are interested, I will link. I have a 7-day passing course, which is free. And I talk about 3 different ways that great volleyball players start with their arms. There's wide, there's bent, and there's just simple and down. So there's a lot of different ways, but I like this way, and I'm actually probably going to start training this myself because a lot of great players are doing this and having a lot of success. But you can see he starts so wide that even though he naturally comes in, he's still not connecting. He naturally comes in, let's connect out here. Naturally coming in, sees the ball to the right, connects out here. Rather than starting shallow, connecting in, and then moving out and losing our hips. So watch this. Boom. Look how long he waits with his arms. Waiting. Now connect. Hips are facing. Great pass. Again, really wide arms. Tough ball. You can see his footwork. He's late with his split step. See how late he is? Now he's ready to move, but the ball is almost over the net. And so again, in the 7-day passing course, I talk about the split step and how important this is to time it, because naturally we split step, but we want to be conscious of when we're split stepping, because it can either help us be a step quicker or a step slower. And so you can see he's going to be a step slower on here, barely getting out to the ball. Now he's reaching, and he's left vulnerable for any last-second floats. So hips are, again, away from the target, and you can see gets a tough touch on it. Ball is shanked to the side. There we go. He's a great passer. This is a good float serving team. So good split step. He times it right. Ball isn't over the net, but now he's ready to move. Good shuffle step. Gets around it. And most importantly, his hips are around it. Rather than being open here, he gets his hips around it. So he's a backboard to the setter. Puts the ball right on the target. All right. Let's watch a little of Koga. So Koga is one of my favorite liberos to watch. We both played this past season in Poland, and he is tiny. I think maybe he's 5'8", but he plays big, and he does something that any player can do, is just have an aggressive and confident mindset. So you can see already he's only passing 2 men, but he's passing in the middle of the court. But he can be so quick because, again, good split step. So he's even faster than the Argentinian libero. Gets that good step. He gets what we call a shuffle and a gather. I talk about this on day 4 of the 7-day passing course. So he gets a shuffle, and then what he does is he gathers and rebalances himself, gets another step, and then the ball catches him high. And in these opportunities, it's really tough to keep our hips because now we have to open up. But he does a good job of finishing the angle. Of course, we want our legs to be as solid as possible, but again, there's so many different ways to pass. Maybe this won't be a style where we can pass consistently at a high level, but the angle will tell the ball exactly what to do. And watch how the angle finishes to the setter. Amazing. So, tough ball. Koga's taking a lot of court. A little late on the split step, but you can see he makes it up with good footwork. Again, shuffle and gather, and then he gets another lunge and slides out. But he's so successful in this pass because he's so quick with the inside shoulder, reaching out and quick rather than going together and then being slow and behind. He's able to shoot his left shoulder out in front and connect, creating that angle back to the middle of the court. I think it's actually a perfect pass. The setter's just a little slow. Really good split step. Watch how he hops. There it is. Gets that quick step outside and then the gather. This is so important for younger athletes because on the court, we're naturally a lot smaller than adults, and so we have to be much more efficient and quick with our footwork. And I think a lot of success can come from understanding the footwork, how to move. So I like to talk about the shuffle and gather, the crossover, and then the step and the slide. So good job by Koga here. You can see how he slides his foot over. It's another way to regain balance rather than being lunged out. But does a good job with his hips, facing the server, and he creates a great angle outside of his body. So a lot of little technical things we can do, but what it turns out is just to be a much more efficient player. Step, and then the gather. So this is big, being able to take court, the step, but also to gather to get the balance back. So we're not lunging, we're not reaching, we're not leaning. He's able to replicate how he started in that balance and athletic position. Another great pass. Good job by Koga. Tough serve that kind of drops on him, but he does a good job keeping his hips in front of him. And so the angle necessarily isn't great because the ball drops, but because his hip is facing the setter, the ball goes straight, and the setter is still able to make a nice touch on a good serve. Another good job by Koga, working as hard as he can with his footwork to get behind the ball, to make sure he contacts it in front of his body, being able to establish a strong and a clear angle to the setter. And then there's different ways to create space, because when you pass the ball, there is going to be some blowback. Not every time we can push into the ball. So you can see he's able to create the space between his arms and his body by moving his feet behind him. Watch how he finishes. And then able to get back in and cover. One more. Again, tough serve, gets him high, but with the split step, he gets a jump on it. And then working hard to keep the ball in front of him, he opens up his hips, and you can see he finishes his angle. It's not the position we want to be in necessarily, but if we're up here, we have to finish our angle back to the setter. One more. Big float, steps to the right, comes back. And then again, we don't necessarily have to have our feet all the time. If we do, we're going to be balanced and much more likely to reciprocate a good angle. But at the end of the day, the ball will only do what the angle says. So Koga keeps his hips forward, his arms outside of his body, and he finishes the pass right on target. Okay. Let's watch a little of the French libero, Genia, one of the best liberos right now in the world, and who's been passing in the background when I haven't been watching. So we'll watch him pass cold float serves. So once again, split step. You can see he walks into it. 1, 2, 3. So ball drops on him. He collapses his body under the ground to try and get a good angle. He makes it perfect. So again, we don't necessarily want to be in this position, but sometimes there's going to be good floats. And if we can't get our angle under the ball, then we just get our body under the ball and make sure we're able to put the right trajectory so our setter can set it quick. Gets a quick step, and you can see his arms are already connected. Sometimes this leads to trouble, but he's able to make a good touch, and you can see the ball's tight on his body, but what he does to keep the space between his arms and his body is he keeps on moving his feet behind him, and he's able to get back in, cover. Quick, and keeping his arms in front. So there's a lot of way. The USA style is usually just to keep the elbows and wrist lock in and just let the angle do it. But you'll see a lot of European players and Brazilian players really push the ball with the shoulders, with the elbows, with the wrist. And the goal is to bat the ball back to the setter. So watch Jenny right here, using his elbows and his wrist to finish the pass. So I don't like this necessarily, but with slower serves, it's a good way to push and put force back into the ball. Again, you can see him on the other side. Let's see how long he waits to connect. Waiting, 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 waiting. Does a really good job, connects, and then opens up his body. A really good technical drill to work on individual arms. I talk about this on day 2 of the passing course. Is when you're passing, you have someone roll you a ball, spin you a ball, float you a ball, and as the ball is coming, you verbally say out loud, wait, 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 wait. So you can kind of trick your conscious mind not connecting the arms. So wait, 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 connect. Wait, 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 connect. Wait, 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 connect. And what this does is 2 things. It helps us from connecting early and swinging our arms. And by waiting longer, we can't just reach with our arms, and we have to do the work with our footwork. So this is really important, especially for younger players, having to take more court. It's being able to see the ball first, and then instead of reaching with our arms, where we get in a lot of trouble, now we're doing the work with our legs and moving, using good footwork. Nice serve. Jenya, really good job. And look how quick he is with his left shoulder and getting the ball outside of his body. So some players like to hold their angle. I think holding angle is the best way. But if you have the angle on contact, then you can release the arms. I like to be sure, when I can, to hold my angle the entire way. That way I know my angle will stay true no matter what. Another nice job, waiting. Opens up his body, even though it's on the midline. I like opening up and passing the ball a little bit on my midline, because if the ball rises, then I can open up with my hips and still keep the same angle. As the ball rises in the midline, now I come in, and instead of being able to move back, I have my body in the way, and this will disrupt not only my platform, but the initial angle I wanted to put on the ball. Good job. You can see with the split step again, just being ready to do that little hop. I talk about this on the first day of the course. There's 3 different ways to do a split step. One where you're just balanced and split, where you walk in, split, one-legged split, and then the 4th, I guess you could say, is just not splitting at all. So I think it's really good, not only as a professional, but especially as a developing volleyball player, to understand and be conscious of your footwork, your split step, your preparation, and how you are able to keep space between the ball. Because in this way, you can always coach yourself, knowing that a lot of times in practice, the coach can't coach every single player at the same time. So by being conscious of the technique, you can continue to coach yourself, and with each rep, you get that much more better and improve. So last ball outside of his body, finishes it, pushes it, and you can see in the last 2 passes, it doesn't really matter where the body ends up, but the big thing is being able to put the right angle on the ball. So we can fall, it's not a big deal. Of course, we want to fight for balance, but we can fall as long as we are able to reach and connect the ball in front of our body, allowing our initial angle to stay true. Awesome. Awesome, amazing. So there's a little quick overview. If you guys have any questions, please write them now. I will give you the link. I believe you already have it, but I'll give you the link to, I guess you would call it like my passing manifesto, 6,000 words, how to pass. Day 1, we talked about pretty much everything we talked about today. The split step, 3 different ways to do that. Day 2, how our arms should start, or the 3 ways you can decide how you want your arms to start. Day 3, this thought about individual arms and why we're able to keep them out longer rather than connecting, and why having individual arms and moving as an individual arm is much more efficient and simpler than moving with both arms. Day 4, 5, and 6, I used one of the best liberos of all time, Sergio from Brazil, to demonstrate 3 different ways to move to float serves and how we can be quicker. And day 7 is all about keeping space between our arms and our body, because once we lose the space between our arms and our body, now our hips open up and our angle changes. And so this is something I wish I knew a lot earlier in my career, but once I started realizing this, I became a much more efficient passer because I realized what was happening when my passes were poor. Because at the end of the day, it's just physics. And so we have to understand the technical aspects to allow the physics to work in our favor and to keep the best angle possible to put the ball to the setter. So awesome. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, I'll answer those. I will also leave you guys a link and a promo code to get my journal. A lot of athletes are asking me right now what they can do during this time. No practice, right? It's tough. For me, myself, my season was cut short. Lost a bunch of money with my team. No Olympics, maybe no national team this year. But it's important that I focus on those things within my control rather those things that aren't completely in my control. And that's the season being canceled, maybe not being paid full. Because when I focus on this, the things that are arguably already determined, I'm just stressing myself out more. And I'm taking away energy where I could spend it on things that are developing as a person, as an athlete, like working on meditation, journaling, visualization, reading and learning more about volleyball technique. And so when you go back on the court, you truly understand what you're doing. Rather, like me initially, I just hope to put the ball on my arms and to the setter. And so with this 7-day course, I'm really confident that it's going to have a lot of positive effect for players. And once they step on the court, they're going to truly understand how to play the game of volleyball and how to pass at a high level, and overall just being a much more confident passer. I'm really excited about that. Okay, looks like we have some questions. Also, too, you guys can ask these questions because it is anonymous. So it won't say your name. Don't worry, it will be anonymous. So if you have any other questions, write those down right now, and I can answer those before signing off. Do you have any suggestions on start depth for passing? I think it's something you have to experiment with, because for each level, it's a little different. I know a lot of professionals can start closer to the 10-foot line because we can take balls with our hands, and a lot of men professional players prefer this. Overall, women's professional players, and even myself, we like to play more with our forearms. And so usually I like to be maybe 17 or 18 feet deep. But I think it's important to find a good position where if a ball is deep and in, you're not feeling like you're out of control and can't create space between your arms. And so maybe a quick drill for this would be to, work with a coach and have them serve balls that will end or land on the end line, and see if you're able to be quick enough to get the ball in front of you. And I think then you'll have a good idea of how deep you are and how deep you want to be. Okay, do you think it is better to stay on your feet while serve receive passing, or just try to get the perfect angle? Oof, good question. So at the end of the day, the angle is all that matters, right? But if you want to be a consistently great passer, balance needs to be an important key. And this is something I still need to work a lot on, is making sure I'm balanced at the last second. And there's a lot of things we can do. One, again, work on our split step, understanding the footwork, and then our ability to prepare our arms before the serve is hit. Because with this creates more space for us, and we have more time to react and keep the ball in front of us. So overall, I would say angle with regards to the outcome, but our process should always be focusing on balance and how we can be quicker to be balanced more of the time. Okay, a couple more questions. If you have some, you guys can feel free and write. Position I play is libero. If you guys want to see me play, I'll write on the chat my name for Instagram. I have some clips there of me. I'm a libero. When I was in high school, I played a little bit of setter as well. What are some good exercises to do to master the split step? Yeah, if you guys have ever played hopscotch, this is a good way to do it. Either you have both feet inside and then you split out, or if you want to learn the 1-foot split step, which I'll write this website too. You guys can download. And read the 7-day passing course on that website I just posted. But a good way of learning the one-legged split step is the same thing. You have like a hopscotch, you put 1 foot in the box, and then you split. And so this is the best way for me that I've learned, and how tennis athletes train this, because volleyball athletes kind of stole this from tennis players, and how they use this not only for receive, but also for the rally. And this is something actually I'm writing now too. I'm going to write a 7-day digging course, and the importance of split step, not only on serve receive, but also for defense. Because with a good and properly timed split step, our legs will be more activated, athletic, and balanced. Good questions. What's the ideal position off our midline to pass from? Yeah, so I like passing just a little bit outside my body here, because if the ball goes high, I can keep the same angle. The ball goes low, I can keep the same angle here. But in the midline, it gets a little tricky, right? Because if the ball goes low, I come into my body. If the ball comes high, I come into my body. And if our arms ever hit our body or chest, now something has to give. Usually it's the hips. Now our angle completely changes. And so I always like to pass just a little on my left side or a little bit on my right side. Should our feet be turned in or out during serve receive for the best balance? Ooh, that's a good question. I think on a float serve, and if you're moving a lot, it can be slightly turned in, because this way we can push off more so of our feet and move a little quicker. But mostly for me, passing jump serves, I'm going to be a little bit wider with my feet. But if you're passing float serves, I think it's good to be a little turned in. But it's another good thing to experiment with, because everyone's a little different. And again, with the 7-day passing course, everything I talk about, I give multiple examples how to be great with each specific technique. So I think that's a good question. I think it is really important that you experiment in what works best for you, because there's a lot of different styles how to play. And with the course that I wrote for free, you can find these different players and see which player's style looks, it kind of sounds silly, but looks the coolest. Because there's a style that you think is cool, you're going to be much more passionate about working and taking the steps to play with the style. I like this question. Long Beach Poly or Long Beach Millikan? I went to Long Beach Wilson, so I'm going to have to say Long Beach Wilson. Nice try, though. Was it hard to keep a good mindset in games where you were losing, or if you screwed up a pass? Yeah, so I write about this a lot. I have a feeling not a lot of you follow me, which is fine. You don't have to follow me. But if you want to learn about mindfulness, about how to be a little tougher mentally, especially when things are going tough. I've spent my whole life overcoming this, because naturally I'm not an amazing athlete. I didn't get a start when I was young. And so I've had to really push, especially in the mental side of things, because when things get tough, how are you going to respond? And so if you guys actually want to look, I spoke about this today. My latest post was a video talking about mindfulness and our ability to respond rather than react. And this is a big deal. Maybe the coach is yelling at you. Maybe you shanked a couple balls. Maybe your team's losing. Do you let the external circumstances dictate how you play, dictate how you feel, dictate your confidence. Because when you start a game passing 2 balls perfect, you're going to feel probably a lot more different than when you get aced on the first 2 balls, right? But the thing is, we can work and we can train this, and our ability to return to the breath. And so that's the biggest thing for me, the awareness of the breath. Because when we focus on the sensation of the breath coming in and out of our nose, we take our consciousness away from all these thoughts, which most of the time are thoughts that aren't really serving us. If you think about it, especially in tight games, a lot of the thoughts really don't help us, right? It's like, oh, you suck. You're not playing well. You're going to get subbed out. You're not going to make varsity. Coach is going to cut you. These thoughts don't help us, right? And so with mindfulness, we're able to practice in meditation and observing these thoughts and realizing that we don't need to push them down. We don't need to scream. We don't need to believe them. We can kind of just observe them and know that they will pass. And until then, we can focus on the breath. And when we focus on the breath in and out, we become more present, and we're able to not be so affected by not only the external circumstances and the negative thoughts inside our head, because most of our thoughts, unfortunately, are negative. But I really suggest you guys looking at my last Instagram post. It's a 2-minute video where I talk about this exact question. Great question. Where can we find these links that you were writing? Yeah, so between you and me, my secret, I'm going to start writing a lot for Volleyball Magazine about these things. I'll give you my blog, which is it's actually the same link. So if you go to No Easy Buckets, you can see this on the chat. If you want, click that right now, and what you'll see is something will pop up, and I'll ask you if you want to do the 7-day passing course for free. And if you want, you can put in your email, and if not, that's fine too. And then after that, I have a blog. It's a newer website, so I have to upload some more of my new blogs. But almost every post I read on Instagram is about mindfulness. It's about attitude. It's about the things that are within your control. And it's about ideas and tips and practices to become a more mentally tougher athlete. So almost every post on Instagram, I got 2,000 of them, so you can really read a lot, is about kind of my journey, things that have really worked well for me, and how you can use what I've learned for your own game and your path to greatness. Really good questions. Any suggestions on how to train for diving and getting more comfortable with hitting the ground? I think knee pads are always a good idea, just because you can be a little more aggressive. But you just have to learn to kind of I'll say dance with the floor, because you can't just go from vertical to horizontal, right? And so I like, when I pursue balls, small, quick steps. And with each step, my body gets a little lower. And so when I do dive, it's more like here rather than here. And so I'm not the best for teaching women how to dive, because for men it's a little different. But I think the best way is with each step, you get a little bit lower to the ground. And you can do this with short, small steps. Okay, do I have a preference on side? Some coaches teach things like seams left or right. Do you think you pass better on one side or another? Well, that's really good questions. So naturally, as Americans, we're taught left side is better, because most of the serves come from area 1. It only hasn't been until recently where more servers have been going from area 5. And so if it's coming from area 5, then naturally probably you want to pass to your right side. So I think a lot of this depends on which side of the court the server is coming from. But for me, I'm much more confident on the left side. And if it's the server's coming from area 1 or from area 6, I'm almost always going to work to get things on my left side. When it goes to area 5, then I'm going to work on my right side. How low should we be standing in serve receive? That's a great question. I think you want to be in a position that is both balanced and athletic. We can get into a point where we're too low. We're going to be athletic, but we're not going to be balanced, right? So we want to be athletic so we can move, and we want to be balanced and so we can move and reciprocate once we move in athletic position. So kind of messing around with it. I don't like to be in a full squat, but maybe like a half squat. I'm a libero. How much court should I try and take? What if the servers are trying to serve away from me? Ooh, that's a great question. I talk about this in the 7-day passing course. It's day 5. The video version. So I have an email version where I send all my writings. This is free. I also have a video version, which is not free. But this is I show my example as a passer. And one year I played with 2 receivers that were both equally bad as float serve. And so it wasn't like I could just pass 2-man. I had to kind of trick the servers, right? So maybe sometimes say I was here, here's another passer, here's another passer. Sometimes I would go like this, and sometimes I would go like this. And so there's different ways that you can play kind of hide and seek or show and tell with the servers. And you can best do this by using a crossover step. And so I talk about this in day 5. I think the video version is really good at explaining this because I slow it down and I'm able to show you how much court I'm able to take and the footwork that is necessary not only to be quick, but to rebalance yourself. And so there's a lot of ways as liberos where we can be very aggressive. And I think this is the best way if you're looking to make an impact not only on your coach, your high school coach, but college recruiters. I think this is the best way as a libero to be like so confident and so aggressive, even to the point where you're failing. But I think coaches are going to see this and be like, I want that person on my team. So aggressive, so confident. I love it. And actually, that was actually how I got recruited. I did the same thing in high school. So I think there's a lot to say about being aggressive as possible and as confident as possible. How can I calculate more quickly how much force to put into a pass to avoid passing it too high or too low? I think it's just working on repetitions, right? Because I can't say for each serve there's going to be a different amount of speed coming. And so you just have to practice. But you can always err in going up and down, right? If we're just going straight, now if we miss with a little power, it's going to go over the net, right? And so we can always err being a little more up and down, and we can get this trajectory with a better angle that's more parallel to the ground. And we can do this with having our arms out early and having a good athletic position of our legs. What is a good home workout to improve vertical speed on the court? Let me look real quick because I have a workout online and I will post this so I don't forget. Yep, I still have it. So I will post it. Can all of you guys see the chat function? So I just posted a YouTube video and I think there's about 12 different drills that you can focus and work on speed, agility, and maybe even more important, hand-eye coordination. So you just need one friend to do this with at home, and it's really easy to do. Some good exercises to do to stay in shape for volleyball. I think just move. Move as much as you can. It doesn't have to be anything particular. Ride a bike, go for a run, even go for a walk, do some lunges, run up a hill if you can, get a jump rope. I used to jump rope a lot when I was younger. How old were you when you first found a passion in volleyball? I was 14 and a half. I was at the spring season of high school, my freshman year of high school. Have you ever had very bad dive where you injured yourself or crashed the floor? Yes, many times. And you know what? I wish these would have happened when I was younger, because what happens is when you do this, you realize it's not so bad. Whether you crash into something or you get hit in the face with volleyball, you're like, oh, was that what I was afraid of? It's really not so bad. And so when I first started to get like really bad 6-packs, balls hitting me in the face, it wasn't until I was like 25. And then once I got 2 balls left and right at the same time, same day, I had the worst that could ever happen. But after this, I was a much more confident defensive player, because I was like, I don't think it can get much worse than that. And I still survived it. And so I think actually look out for these. Need to read out loud. Remember league match for first place back in 03, Wilson versus Pauly. Good game, Dustin. You balled out. Mad props. One of my favorite matches ever played in high school. Go Jackrabbits. Oh, man. Who was on that Jackrabbit team? Yeah, that was fun times. Fun times back in Long Beach. Actually, if you want, I have these 7-day quarantine videos, and one of the days, I forget which one it is, but I put some highlights from when I was in high school playing against Lakewood, which is another big rival. But I had hair down to here. It was pretty funny. And we had goofy Hawaiian board shorts. Oh, man. Where do you get the video course? Yeah, that's a great question. I'll put a link in. I'll send a link to you guys tomorrow. Can all you guys see this chat section? This is the first time I've used it. Can someone type in yes or no? I just want to make sure. This is where you guys can see the 7-day passing course. No, you can't see the chat section. Can't see it. Oh, interesting. Allow attendees to chat with. Huh. Allow attendees to chat with. No one, all panelists. I think I found it. All right. Can you guys see it now? Yeah. All right. So that's where so the first link I put is where you can buy the video series, speed and agility drills. Oh, thank you guys for that. Speed and agility drills is right there. If you, I'll have some libero. I have some libero tips too. I can show you. I have some. Wait. Sorry, that I didn't even copy a real link. Let me go back. Sorry, you can see how new I am to this. Volleyball speed and quickness drills. Okay. All right, there it is. That is what you want. And you are going to see a 40-second clip of volleyball quickness drills. And then I'm going to also send you guys 2 videos that have become really popular online of me a couple of years ago with my Polish coach, because we did a lot of crazy drills. So one video got 100,000 views and one got 300,000 views. So I think a lot of people enjoyed it. Digging drills, number 2. I'll put this in the link as well for later. I'll follow up with all you guys. But speed agility drills, yes, I'm recording this. Drills, and then Dustin Watton Cells. This is where you can find the video course. And then if you want to register for the free course, you can go to No Easy Buckets. And this is also where I have the blog entries. Let's see. Have you ever served one person in the face repeatedly on purpose or by accident? I don't serve. I'm a libero. No, I haven't done that. Did you start with club or school? I started with school, and then that spring I played on my first club team. It was called Long Beach Nova. But awesome. If you guys have any other questions, you can write real quickly and I can answer. If not, maybe you guys can put all your questions together for Chris and she can email me. If not, you guys are always welcome to write me questions on Instagram. I always want to respond. I'll give you guys, if you guys want a quick laugh, I'll show you what I looked like in high school, because it was a lot of work. I was maybe 140 pounds, if you want to look at that picture on Instagram. But the reason I write so much is because when I was younger, I was a goofy, small, really skinny kid and didn't have a lot of friends, but I really loved volleyball. And all I wanted to do was just to get better, day by day, get better. How can I get better? How can I get better? And back then, all I knew what to do was just to play as much as possible. But now, as a professional, when hard work really isn't enough, you have to be creative and intelligent with how you work. And so now I have a lot of unique ideas that have turned into habits, that have turned into routines that have really helped me at a professional level. And I want to use my platform to share these ways of working with younger athletes who are also really passionate about growing. And I know I won't reach every athlete because not every athlete is very passionate. Maybe they have other things that are important to them. Maybe it could be shopping, video games, TV. But I know there's a lot of athletes out there where they just want to get really good at volleyball. They want to work. Whatever they can do, they'll do. And I want to be able to reach those athletes and to help them be their best version. So I write a lot of it on Instagram, how I work. And then if athletes ever have questions, I'm always happy to answer. I might spend a little too much time than I should, but the goal is to help younger athletes be their best version of themselves, if any way I can do it. So thank you guys. I'll put out another email just with all the information that I talked about today. But thank you so much for allowing me to be of service. And again, if I can help you in any way, you guys are always welcome to write me there. Thank you. Have a great day. Peace from Long Beach.